Alright, so today's notes is over radical equations. And the radical equation is just an equation, a radical order, right? It's equations are still equations. We're still solving for x. The only difference is it's going to have your equation is just have a radical. So let's start with number 1. If you have the square root of 3x plus 4 equals 5. In order to solve this problem, what do you think I need to do? If you were going to guess, square both sides, right? To drop the radical, you're going to square this side and this side. Because wherever you do one side, you have to do the other. Squaring this side drops the radical, and so you just get 3x plus 4. Squaring this side gives me 25, and you need to solve for x. Now, radicals are a little bit special. If you have a radical in an equation, you have to be careful. You have to go back and always check and see if your answer worked. Because there's an issue with radicals. There's a couple special cases. Let me talk to you about it for a second. For example, I can't have this, right? Okay, and also the square root of 25 would never give me negative 5, right? Okay, this answer isn't negative 5, is it? It's 5i. So you've got to look and make sure your answer is true, right? So we do that by creating a giant check and checking it. Takes 2 seconds. Get your answer, come up here to the problem, and you can do the most of it in your head, okay? The answer is 7. So 3 times 7 is 21. 21 plus 4 is 25. So the square root of 25, does it actually equal 5? Yes. So your answer is good. You can move on. You don't have to write it all out. It doesn't mean long and drawn. Just a little check like this is perfect. Number 2. The cube root of 2x minus 4 minus 2 equals 0. Okay, write yourself a note. Before you cube both sides, move the 2 over. You want the radical by itself and the number on the right. Okay? So you're going to move the 2 over first, giving you the cube root of 2x minus 4 equals 2. Now cube both sides, guys. There you go. The cube drops the 2x minus 4 out, and on the other side you get 8. Solve. But before I can say, yep, the answer's 6, I'm good to go, what do you need to do first? Check it. Okay, so let's check. Ready? My answer was 6. I'm going to take that 6 and come up here and say, on the cube root of 2 times 6 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. So the cube root of 16 minus 2 should give me 0. Oh, thank you. I forgot to subtract. 12 minus 4 is 8. Okay, so what's the cube root of 8? 2. 2 minus 2 is 0, so my answer is nice. Thank you, guys. Let's go to the next one, number 3. What's the first step? Move the 1. Then what? Divide by 2. Yeah, you should move the 1, then divide by 2. Then square both sides. And check your answer. We're going to take 2 times the square root of 15 times 3 is 45. So square root of 49 plus 1 should be 15. Does it work? 7 times 2 is 14. 14 plus 1 is 15. Yes, you're right. Number 4. Move your 4 over. Okay, right here you should automatically recognize that this answer is what? What is it? Yeah. Can a radical be negative? No. So the answer right now is no solution. Okay, and you can write yourself a note. The square root of a number cannot equal a negative number. Now let me show you a little secret though. Just like all of us sometimes, right? You might have accidentally missed that. So let's say if you keep working it, the problem, look what happens real quick. And you can write this down or you can just watch. If I just kept going, I would have said, okay, 2x plus 3 equals negative 1. I would square both sides to give me 2x plus 3 equals 1, correct? Move my 3 over, 2x equals negative 2 and x equals negative 1, which is fine. But when I went back to do my little check, I would come up here and I would say the square root, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. So the square root of 1 minus 4 equals negative 5. Does 1 minus 4 equal negative 5? No. Sorry, you can't see that. So I checked it. Negative 1 minus 4. So 1 minus 4 doesn't equal negative 5. It equals negative 3. So it didn't work. So the answer then, again, would be no solution. Does that make sense? So if you missed it, it's okay. That's why we're checking. The next one. We're at number 5. Number 5. If you have the square root of x minus 1 equals x minus 7. What are you going to do to both sides in this kind of problem? Square it, right? And this is the reason we did the warm-up. Because on the left, I'm going to get an x minus 1, which is fine. But on the right, okay, is where you can use your shortcut, right? This is a binomial squared. So you take the first term and you square it, which would be x squared. What's my next part? You multiply them together, right? When I multiply them together, I get a negative 7x. Negative 7 times x, negative 7x. But how many 7x's do I need? 2. So really I'm going to write negative 14x. And then I'm going to square negative 7, which turns to a positive 49. And then we're still, again, at the importance of the warm-up here. Because now I have an x squared term. When you have an x squared and an x, you have to factor. Okay, and here's a side note. I want everybody looking up here. Everybody. Look up here, please. Okay, I want to show you something. If I have something like this, x squared plus, if you have a problem like this, you don't have to factor. You can move the 9 over, x squared equals 9, so x equals positive negative 3. Correct? However, if you have something this type, if you have an x squared term and an x term, in order to solve it, you have to factor. Okay? Do you see the difference? If you only have an x squared term, you can do it like this. You move the number over and take the square root. But if you have an x squared and an x, you have to actually factor it to solve. Okay, that's just recognizing just plain old number sense, understanding the difference. Okay, so I've got an x squared and an x. So to solve the quadratic, remember you set it all equal to 0. So move these over. So we're going to minus x and add 1. Subtract x and add 1. So 0 equals x squared minus 15x plus 50. When you factor that, my factors are add to get 15, multiply to 50, so 5 and 10, and they're both negative. Your quick check would be x and x is x squared, negative 10, negative 5 is positive 50. Okay, I've talked about this in the warm-up again. These are my factors, but what are my roots? What are my solutions to that original problem? Way up here we had a problem. These are just factors. The answers are what? Very good, 5 and 10. So let's check them. Let's check 5 first. The square root of 5 minus 1, so the square root of 4 should equal 5 minus 7 is negative 2. Is that true? Does that work? No. So 5 is not an answer. Now let's check 10. The square root of 10 minus 1 is 9. Equals 3. That is true. So the answer is 10. Okay, the next one, number 6. The square root of 12 minus x equals the square root of x plus 6. What's different about this problem than the others? Right, there's a radical on the left and a radical on the right. But you actually don't solve the problem any differently. You're still going to do what to both sides? Square. Excellent. So square both sides for me, guys. When you do that, it's just going to drop. So you're going to have 12 minus x equals x plus 6. Kids make a mistake here and think these cancel. They do not cancel, right? You add x to both sides, you have 12 equals 2x plus 6, move your 6 over. That's one way to do it. There's 1,000 ways to solve that problem, but x is 3. Go and check it now. Check it, see if it's right. What do you think? Is it? equals the square root of 9. It works. Square root of x plus 12 plus the square root of x equals 6. Now in this problem, we have two radicals on the left side. You don't want to solve it that way, okay? You want to solve it so that you have one radical on one side and one on the other the most. So move one of them over, right? Let's move the root 6 over, it's easiest. You might want to write yourself a note, but remember if there are two radicals, and move that one over to the other side. Okay, so now you'll have square root of x plus 12 equals 6 minus root 6. I'm sorry, root x. Apologize. What are you going to do to both sides here? Excellent. Square both sides. All right, here's the test. Square that one and get it right. Try it. Did you get it right? Look at it. Think about this for a second. Our shortcut is to square the first term. So there it is. Then it said multiply these together, which would be negative 6 root x. How many of those negative 6's do I need? 2. There's where my negative 12 came in. Now this is the part that confuses kids. Now I want to square this. It doesn't matter. If you square a negative, what's it going to turn positive? And what's the square going to do to the radical? It's going to drop it. Make sense? Okay. Now, okay, this one looks a little weird. There's no squares. I'm not going to have to factor it yet necessarily. Okay, but what do you notice about the x's? Well, we have a plane on each side. So if I subtract x, what are they going to do to each other? Yep, they're going to cancel. Now why don't we move the 36 over? So we'll have negative 24 equals negative 12 root x. Divide by negative 12, so we'll have 2 equals root x. How are we going to solve for x? Right, square both sides. So what's x going to give us? Good. Now go check it. 4 plus 12 is 16. The square root of 16 plus the square root of 4 equals 6. Is that true? 4 plus 2 is 6? Yes. Does anybody have any questions about how I got any of this? If you do, you're probably not the only one. So ask. This is a harder problem. What? Okay, so there's a little shortcut. Kind of like the warm-up. If you look at the warm-up really quick, if I FOIL this out, I'm going to have 2 5x's every time, right? Oh, I get it. So if I wrote it out and FOILed it out, 6 and negative makes negative, this makes negative 6 root x, right? Which I would have 2 of them, giving me negative 12. Make sense? Anybody else? Questions? Yes?
So for the negative 24 and the negative 12, you can just
I divided.
divide it.
I divided by negative 12, and I divided by negative 12.
Okay.
You see it? Because it's just multiplied. It would be like this if you had this. You would divide both sides by negative 12. Right. next one. Great. The square root of an x minus 8 equals 1 minus the square root of x minus 3. Oh, plus 3, sorry. I have one radical on both sides. I'm good. I don't need to move one. But to drop the radicals, I have to square both sides. So square both sides. It's going to give me an x minus 8 equal, I'm going to give you a second, square this for me. Square it, see how you do. The part that's going to throw you is that this turns into a positive x plus 3 because if you square this, it drops the radical. Yeah, I know it's negative, but what happens when you square negative? It turns positive. So this just drops the radical and you just drop out what's there. Okay, that's confusing. So take good notes on that part. That's why we're doing that. Now then, we're going to combine like terms. You should notice that the x's are going to cancel each other. So let's clean up what we have. And then I'm also at the same time, I'm going to combine the 1 and the 3. I'm going to move the 4 over. And divide by 2. Now to solve for x, you're going to square both sides again. So x is 33. Go and check it. All the way back up to here. 33 minus 8 is 25. Equals 1 minus 33 plus 3 is 36. So does 5 equal 1 minus 6? It's close, but does it? No, 5 does not equal negative 5. So the answer to this one is no solution. So we're going to work one more. The square root of 2x plus 14 equals x plus 3. Square both sides. See what you come up with. An x squared term and x term, so you have to factor it. Move these both over. So that they can set it equal to 0. And then factor to solve. You can check it real quick. X and x is x squared, 5 and negative 1 is negative 5. Those are my factors, guys. Or my roots, my solutions. If you set this equal to 0, you would get negative 5. And if you set that equal to 0, you would get 1. You have to check them both. See which one works. Two times negative 5 is negative 10. So you get the square root of 4 equaling negative 2. That's not true. On here, check this one. You get 1. 2 plus 1 is square root of 16. It does equal 4. That's right. Alright, remember, you may start your homework and it's a grade tomorrow.